I call to order the Board of Trustees regular meeting for agenda for October 7, 2025 at 6 p.m. Can we stand please for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Supervisor Kyle.
Here.
Clerk Newbeck here. Treasurer Brown.
Here.
Trustee Hayward.
Here.
Trustee Morocco.
Here.
Trustee Nalamothu. Here. And Trustee Tedder.
Here.
We have a quorum this evening.
Great. Next, the approval of the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda by removing items L2 and L3, Oakland County contracts with pipeline management and payments for 2025 CCTV and sewer repair services.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Agenda approved. Board and public announcement. Board members and/or individuals in the audience may make a statement containing information about a recent or upcoming event. This is about anything that is not on the agenda currently. You will have 5 minutes to come up. When you come up, please give your name and your address. If you would like to do so, we're going to start up here with the board, and then we'll go to the audience. Any board members? Trustee Tedder.
Thank you. Last Friday, and this is a perfect opportunity to thank some people, but last Friday I participated in Fire Ops 101 out at OCC at the Crest Center, and gave me, well, I already had a deep appreciation for what our firefighters do. It was a tremendous opportunity to do, if you will, a day in the life of a firefighter and some controlled scenarios, including fighting a house fire, a vehicle fire, pit fire, learning about hazmat and the response to hazmat, working through an active shooter scenario in which we've learned that our firefighters are right there with our police in a lot of these scenarios. A rope rescue, among others. It was just a tremendous day, and I want to thank Chief Pichet and Captain Dan White and Lieutenant Mike Upshur for taking great care of me, and it was just a tremendous experience. And I know Clerk Newbeck and I believe Treasurer Brown have been through that experience, and many of you, in fact, so just about all of you. So thanks again. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Excellent. Any other comments or?
I just want to
Trustee
remind
Morocco?
people that St. Dan's Oktoberfest is this Saturday.
Yeah, nice. Okay, good. Anyone else? Nope, my only thing that I would like to do on the comment is that I had a phone call with the MDOT and RCOC about the construction on I-75 and the ramps at Dixie and M15. They are saying they're on schedule. They said barring any rain. That was yesterday, but I think they said that they are about 90% complete on both the ramps from Dixie and M15, and they are still scheduled on pace, they said, for a very early November reopening. And for those that are concerned, I've also been in contact with our COC to make sure that we get it lined up so that the minute those bridges are open, the ramps are open, the highway's open, that we can then remove the barrier at Bluegrass. And my understanding is the village is in lockstep on that, and they'll be looking at opening up Miller Road at the same time. Okay. Other than that, anybody else? Yeah. All right. Anybody in the audience have any comments, public announcements? Okay. Give me 1 second. Hold on online. No? Okay, then I'm going to go online. Does anybody online have any comments or public announcements? Nope, apparently they got silence, so. Okay. And I always get the public announcements and public comments, kind of combine them together, so let me just make sure that, does anybody in the audience have any public comments they would like to make? Nope, okay. We're going to close public comments then. We do not have any public hearings at this point. We do, I think, have a little presentation here. My understanding is that we get to induct 5 new family members, at least recognize them for the police department. I'm sorry. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I know, I'm sorry, I apologize for the fire department. Chief of Shake. I know.
Can I have all 5 of the probationary firefighters please come up? Alrighty, well, good evening, everyone. The Independence Fire Department is honored and proud to officially swear in firefighter paramedics Jamie Cisak, George Papp, Isaiah Quick, Chuck Curtis, and Greg Marinick. Tonight marks a milestone in their careers and a proud moment for all of us. Having completed their probationary period, they now take their place as permanent members of the Independence Fire Department. But before we celebrate that achievement, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on a journey that brought them here. Becoming a firefighter at Independence Fire is no small task. From the first day they walk through our doors, recruits are met with high expectations, not to make the process difficult, but because lives depend on it. Firefighting is a dangerous and unpredictable profession, and every standard, every drill, and every challenge is designed with one goal in mind, to prepare them for whatever might come their way. During that first year, their probationary period, recruits face an intense and demanding program. It's a year of learning, testing, and proving themselves. They study the craft, they master essential firefighting and emergency medical skills, and demonstrate their ability to perform under pressure. More importantly, they learn to rely on each other to build trust, respect, and teamwork. One of the hardest parts of the journey, finding your place within a close-knit crew. These men and women don't just work together, they live, train, and eat together 24 hours a day. Bonds are forged through sleepless nights, long calls, and shared experiences that only firefighters truly understand. And through it all, these 5 individuals earned their place on that team, not just as colleagues, but as brothers and sisters in the fire service. Of course, skills and knowledge are only part of what makes a great firefighter. This profession demands courage, strength, and compassion. Those are the qualities that drew these individuals to serve, and they are the same qualities that will carry them through their careers. Courage to face danger, strength to endure hardship, and compassion to serve the community and care for others in their time of greatest need. Tonight, we honor 5 firefighter paramedics who have not only met our expectations, they've exceeded them. They've shown dedication, professionalism, and the heart in everything they do. So on behalf of the Independence Fire Department, the Township of Independence, and our entire community, it is my great privilege to welcome Jamie Cisak, George Papp, Isaiah Quick, Chuck Curtis, and Greg Marinick as permanent members of this department and into the honorable tradition of the fire service. Congratulations to each of you on this well-deserved and hard-earned achievement. We are proud of you and even prouder to serve beside you. With that, give a little hand of applause. Next, we are going to do their badge presentation. Assistant Chief Derek Stamper will assist in that. We're going to do them one at a time, and this evening we're going to have different members of their family or loved ones come up. So we're going to start with Jamie Cisak, and we're going to ask her father, Steve Cisak, to please come up and pin her badge. Steve Cisak is a retired firefighter from Waterford, so Jamie has followed in his footsteps.
That's nice.
Come on, Dad. There we go.
Next will be George Papp. I'm going to ask his girlfriend Alexis to please come up and pin his badge. Next will be Isaiah Quick, and I'm going to ask his fiancee Bella to please come up. The next candidate will be Chuck Curtis, and we're going to have his brother Calvin Curtis, who's one of our firefighters, to pin his badge. And lastly, Greg Marinick's going to be next, and his father, John, is going to come up and pin his badge. So the next part of the presentation is, so when the firefighters make probation, they get a new shield for their helmet, and Captain Dan White is going to give an explanation to that.
The fire shield is worn in the front of the fire helmet to help identify the firefighter. The shields progress and change as their careers progress and change. All members at IFD begin with a generic firefighter shield, similar to this one. These members have completed their probationary phase, and their career has earned their personalized, let me restart. These members have completed the probationary phase of their career and have earned their personalized shield bearing their name and their badge number. From this point forward, every scratch, every detail, every color on their shield will contribute to their story, one of courage and duty and the unbreakable bond that ties the firefighting community together. For the men and women who wear them, these shields are not just functional gear. They're a mark of pride that carries with them the rich history and tradition of the fire service.
And now Assistant Chief and Dan will present their helmets. And finally, I'm going to ask Township Clerk Carrie Newbeck to please swear all the candidates in.
Probably for sake of space, maybe I'll come down here. All right, if you all raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm.
I do solemnly swear or affirm
That I'll support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state.
and the Constitution of this state.
I will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of
of the office of
firefighter paramedic
firefighter paramedic
in and for the Township of
in and for the Township of
Independence,
Independence,
County of Oakland,
County of
and
Oakland,
the State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
As soon as I get done signing, we're gonna take 10 minutes. Okay. I would like to make a motion that we take a 10-minute break to allow the families and friends of the new inductees to be able to come up and take pictures. So we will resume at 6:25.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Great, thank you very much.
carryover presentation, there aren't any. Consent agenda items. Request to approve the Board of Trustees regular meeting minutes of September 16, 2025, and special meeting minutes of September 24, 2025. Also request to approve the September 30th, 2025 check run, including ACH, for $1,866,099.69, and ratify the September 12, 2025, and September 26, 2025 payroll for $348,821.60 and $343,990.45 respectively. Request authorization for the disposal of assets with a cost basis greater than $5,000. Request to ratify the contract with T. Rowe Price as the township's retirement plan provider, and request to approve Brady Lodge rental with alcohol Sunday, November 9, 2025. Can I get a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Items are removed from the consent agenda. We don't have any at this time. Regular business. All right, so the chair will recognize you, members of the public, and shall have the opportunity to address the Township Board on items listed on the agenda. Speaker must go to the podium, identify herself or himself, and limit their comments to not more than 5 minutes. There shall be no more further comments received from the public once the item has been brought back to the board for discussion and vote. However, in the limited situation, further comments may be permitted. And just note that I'll give you a 4-minute warning so you can wrap things up if you need to. All right, and we will start by going through the item, talking about it, then bringing the public up. First item is to request to approve the 2025-26 Clarkson Area Youth Assistance KAYA Agreement for sponsorship funding. And here we have Lauren and Jackie, right? Yes, please, if you would like to come up and kind of give us an overview.
Well, thank you so much for having us here tonight. I'm Lauren Kloss. I'm the caseworker with Clarkson Area Youth Assistance, and Jackie Fromm is our board chair. With Youth Assistance, we are a prevention program all throughout Oakland County. We are part of the Clarkson area office, and we're all about strengthening youth and families through community involvement. So as the caseworker, I work with families one-on-one, so just wanted to share some updates on how the caseload has been over the past year. One very pleasant surprise for me over this past year, I've been in this office for many years now, and I've heard some stories of past caseload kids coming back and sharing what they're doing now, or hearing it through other family members or parents stopping in. And so now some of these kids are young adults and they're in a career, like firefighters, EMS workers, law enforcement workers, officers. They're working as parapros with kids with special needs. So it's been a pleasant surprise to me to see and hear some of those long-term impact stories of those kids. But this past year, some of the top trends that I saw in my caseload, substance use continues to be a concern with marijuana and vaping, giving also a lot of parent support and connection with resources, working on grief and loss concerns, mental health concerns, having kids also complete accountability assignments, so when they're coming to me for school discipline or a diversion, they have some accountability assignments to do to learn from those mistakes, which interestingly enough also included many community service hours, and almost 300 hours were completed last year with my caseload kids. And then also working on other things like bullying, peer conflicts, healthy relationships, family relationships, decisions, school engagement, and then advocacy support for these families as well. Some other notes on the caseload, I had 59 new referrals last year, and of those new referrals, 63% engaged in services with me. And then I had about 70 closures last year, and of those closures, 80% closed successfully. So that means they either completed all of their goals and objectives, or at least made a significant amount of progress on those goals and objectives. So all in all, a very successful year with caseload. And turn it over to Jackie.
Jackie Fromm. Yeah, I'm going to just give a couple things on the new things that we've done. Our Family Education Committee had a 6-episode Parenting Under Stress podcast. We're very proud and excited that we came up with doing a podcast. We actually have flyers there for anybody who wants to see it. So far we've had 190 downloads from the podcast. This year's podcast is being developed and will focus on a teen audience. and try to help those kids. And it's being in partnership, I'm not sure how to
Oh,
pronounce it.
Geeskin Counseling. in
Geeskin
Clarkston.
Counseling in Clarkston. We also had another new program called Music Mashup. Started, it's an after-school program by volunteers in partnership with Pine Knob. And the goal is to engage kids through rhythm and instruments, improvisation, listening, and teamwork. And very high ratings from that. Kids really enjoyed it, so did the parents. And we're going to do a second school this year, Sasha North Sash will be our second school. And then just a quick thing, our camp and skill building continue, and thanks to the community development block grant funds from here and sponsorship, we had 28 skill building scholarships for things like art, sports, music, dance, driver's training, and camp is a big one. We had 12 kids do overnight camp and 19 do day camp. So I think that's our thing.
Yeah, so all in all, lots of good things going on at Clarkston Area Youth Assistance. We do have our annual meeting coming up on October 29th, so I believe all of you have received your evites in your emails with that, so hope to see a good majority of you there if you're able to make it. And again, we thank you so much for your sponsorship. As Independence Township, we really couldn't do the work that we do without your sponsorship and support, as well as our other sponsors with the school district, Springfield Township, and the city of the Village of Clarkston, and of course the 6th Judicial Circuit Court Family Division as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? Trustee Tedder?
Thank you. Number one, Jackie and Lauren, I appreciate you being here. You provide a very compelling case, a long history of doing a lot with a very little. And so, and I usually share at least once a year my involvement. I was part of the Mentors Plus program, gosh, back in 1999 or 2000. And to this day, I'm still very close with the young man that I was matched with. He was 8 then, and he's much older now, and in fact, probably be coming to visit for Christmas. But really underscore, this is a small contribution on behalf of the township, but you do so much with so little, and it's very appreciated.
Nice. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone in the audience? Anyone online? No? Okay, can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion. I'll move to approve an agreement to provide youth programs and services to the public between the Charter Township of Independence and Clarkston Area Youth Assistance for financial assistance in support of providing youth programs and services to the residents of the township, including preventing and reducing juvenile delinquency, neglect, and abuse through community involvement. For the 2025 Kaya budget year, 2025 through 2026 school year, subject to any annual renewal of the agreement, and direct the supervisor to sign the agreement as the authorized representative of the township. Approve payment in the amount of $5,000 to Clarkston Area Youth Assistance for sponsorship funding as allocated under Community Promotion Account Number 101-101-880.000 in fiscal year 2025 budget year.
Second.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, the next item is going to be number 4, which is the request to approve the job description and posting for the Assistant Public Works Director. And here we have the Director of DPW, Mr. McKee.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I did.
It's nice to see everyone. I apologize, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather tonight, but I'm okay. First, I want to thank you for considering this, what I brought to the board tonight. So, in a nutshell, public works departments have been facing significant challenges in recruitment and retention, particularly as long-term and experienced staff start to retire. As assistant director, can be a key part of a succession plan in receiving the training and experience necessary to eventually take on the director's role within the department. This prevents a leadership gap that could affect the department for many years. So, after some long consideration, we put together a job description to have something like that put in place. This position in particular will assist the director in many ways. Assistant director can take responsibility for daily operations, freeing up the director to focus on strategic planning, long-term capital projects, and community engagement even for that, even more of that. It's one of the things that we really try to do, all the departments really try to do, is community engagement. And we try to do it at DPW, but sometimes it gets a little, it's quite overwhelming for one person to do all the time. We do lots, we like to run lean and mean, and we want to make sure that we take care of business, but we also don't want to leave anything, not done, taken care of. Major building projects, new facilities, upgrading water and sewer systems, and complex and time-consuming. Assistant director will allow the director's position, whoever is in those, to provide more dedicated focus and oversight to these critical long-term investments, ensuring they're completed on time and within budget. That's one of the things that we've been doing, and we've been very supportive of the department in my whole tenure here, is to improve the infrastructure of the township, the water and sewer, safety path, everything that's underneath our roof. And those projects are multi-million-dollar projects. They take a lot of time and a lot of detail. This will keep things going in a good way. So, I appreciate you considering this. So we did put this together, and I would hope that you would support this move in this position, and that we could get something posted. If any questions I can answer, I'd be more than happy to.
Trustee Morocco?
Dave, I got a couple questions. Does this position currently does not exist?
Correct.
What is the next person below you right now? The next
Essentially,
position?
there's no, on the management side of things, I am the director, then below me, I have one other non-union member, and he is, his position is not of leadership position, it's more of a compliance issue, or more of a compliance person.
Okay. Okay, the other question I had was on the S2D2 licensing.
Mhm.
It seemed like, how critical is that to the job so that to allow 24 months to obtain it from the new hire, do you feel that that caveat's in there because it could be hard to find someone who's already qualified that has that licensing? Because that's like 2 years seems like a long.
Yeah.
I don't know how critical that licensing is to the position. That's kind of where I was, because that just caught my eye, that it seemed like a long time.
So as we are the purveyor of water for Independence Township, we are required to, we are a D2 system. They call it a D2 S2 system, limited treatment and distribution system. So we have to have a 2 license to operate it, ourselves. If not, we would have to have somebody else do it. So the position we want to have is somebody that can have the minimum license to run the township in the absence of the director. I have a D1, S1, which, do any system in the state. But as you know, the township is growing. There might be a time when we combine some systems that we would become a D1 system. But we want to give the person the opportunity to whoever gets this position, if it's approved, we want to make sure that we give them the opportunity to grow into this position too. It might be somebody internally, it might not be. I don't know. It's the goal is to make this more of a career ladder type of position, so somebody could grow into this. But the licensing is critical to have, and they were required to have that.
Okay, because then it says that if they don't get it in 24 months, they'll be terminated. So
Yes,
that's why it caught my eye that it was something pretty
Yeah,
important.
it's important that you have to have that. You have to have that. It's mandated by the state through the Safe Drinking Water Act. You have to have, the licensing is based on population served. As our population continues to grow, you're going to have a higher type of license to run the
Okay.
system.
Thank you.
Other questions? Justine Tedder?
Thank you. Being that this is a somewhat specialized position, what are the channels that you can utilize to draw down, to track the right candidate or candidates? And also, and the second piece of that, I'm assuming the salary range is commensurate with the caliber of person you're looking for?
It is. So when it comes to qualifications, a lot of thought went into that, or where's the pool at? Because, like I said in my opening statement, there's significant challenges in recruitment. You know, a lot of people don't want to get into the public works, you know, field. You know, it's hard work, it's dirty, it can get messy, and a lot of people don't like that. So it's younger talent's really hard to recruit and get into that. So a lot of it is pure networking. There are headhunters out there, for lack of a better term. There are companies out there that can recruit for us. There's places all over the state. There's lots of places all over the state, meaning other utilities, where these individuals might not have that opportunity. They might be a shining star or a diamond in the rough waiting. You know, we might have somebody in-house. Who knows? That's usually where our pool comes from. It is from somebody that is already, this position will draw from somebody that's already in the field itself. So there's how we go about doing that. It would be through, you know, associations, through, you know, American Water Works Association, Michigan Rural Water, MML are really super great for municipal employment through all aspects. They are, in my opinion, they're probably one of the best ones to advertise through that. But as I mentioned too, there is also companies you can hire that will look out of state, if we're even out of state candidates.
Last question.
Yep.
Funding, is this in the budget? Do you have money in the budget for this?
Yes. We did put it in the budget for 26.
Other questions? No? Any questions, comments from the audience? No? Online? No? Okay. Closed comments. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the job description and posting of the Assistant Public Works Director position as presented.
Support.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I think this is a great investment in the township for the future, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Next item, request to accept and approve final first reading of a zoning ordinance text amendment, section 2.02, 6.05, 6.06, and 6.07 for definitions and procedural changes to the site plan review regarding tree and tree canopy. This was brought forth by trustee Morocco. Do you want to add to this or call anybody up?
Megan is going to make a presentation on behalf of the ordinance change, or I would like her to.
Thank you, Megan Massendenach with Carlisle Wortman Associates. Based on the joint meeting the Township Board had with the Planning Commission on September 8th, the Planning Commission recommended the zoning ordinance amendments that are before you at their September 11th meeting. A public hearing was held on these amendments and others on May 8th, so it had the requisite public hearing in the spring. What the amendments do is, number one, have definitions of protected trees, forested and wooded canopies, as well as standard measurements, because those are used later in the amendments. A requirement and a description of a tree inventory at conceptual site plan. Currently, you require that at preliminary site plan. And then that tree survey or inventory is less onerous than what's in the ordinance now. Currently, it requires preliminary site plan, all trees 4 inches or greater are shown. What is proposed is for that number to increase to 8 inches in diameter, so it would be less trees that would be required to be surveyed. And then also it describes what a forested and wooded canopy is, so that it's very clear to applicants what's required. And then what is something that is not required now for the tree survey is that it's done by a registered landscape architect, forester, or arborist. However, there are provisions that that requirement can be waived for the tree survey if the Planning Commission finds that it would serve no practical purpose, or the nature of the site makes a tree inventory not applicable. There are requirements proposed for tree preservation techniques at final site plan review. And also there's a change to site plan standards that specifically reference protected trees, forested canopies, and wood canopies.
Okay. Does anybody else?
I just want to make a comment with that,
Sure.
after we had our joint session with the board, the planning commission did take that to heart, and they did we did roll back some of the more stringent requirements and on as far as the inventory goes, by almost making it half, the trees having to be twice as big before they needed to be registered, plus being able to identify canopies and woodland areas that would be exempt from the tree inventory. So we did try to make it as least expensive and impactful, but yet give the tools to the planning commission that everyone felt were critical to us doing a better job in the upfront of the project and telling the petitioners what we expected. So I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah. Okay. Questions or comments from the board?
Just under agenda item description, the last sentence, the attached zoning ordinance amendments are not substantially changed so that a new public hearing by the planning commission would be needed. So it would not be needed.
Would not be needed.
Right. I want to clarify that.
Okay. All right, if nobody else has some, I have some questions for you. Okay. I think I have three. First one, let me give you a scenario and tell me if this qualifies where it would require a site plan. I'm a family, I have 10 acres, and I want to divide it up into like maybe 10 different lots and build a family compound and deed the property out to my kids. Does that fall under a PRD, or would it require a site plan or not?
It depends on whether you chose to do it through a site condo, which would require a site plan, a plat, which would require a site plan, or it's possible, depending on the property and whether you're putting in a private road, that you could do that by a land division, which would not require a site plan.
What's typical? Or one, in my scenario, which probably is not very typical, but
In your scenario, what would typically happen is the person would probably do it by land division, and they do it slowly over time, and likely they would have to build a private road.
okay, but it's still possible that in a private residence situation like that, this
Yes,
provisions could come into play.
if it was a site condo or done by a plat to divide the land.
Okay. I know there was a little confusion before about how the private property trickled into it, and that's the scenario I guess it would. All right, the other thing is I'm looking here, and I guess this is, I did notice, as trustee Morocco pointed out, you guys did go back and you changed the criteria on some of the diameters and the type of trees, and sound like you tried to make it a little bit easier, which I'm not 100% sure was necessary for this to go through and to make it easier for the developers, because I believe developers are smart. They'll figure out how to make the money. So I do agree. It definitely looks like you went through and did that. My question is question number two is there anything does this bear at all on the size of the lot? Is there anything in here that says, hey, this does not apply to anything under 5 acres?
No, there's nothing in here that's contingent on the size of the lot.
Okay. So there could be a scenario where you could have a 1 acre lot that's heavily wooded or all wooded, and they would be subject to all of this.
They would be subject to all this if it's, yes.
Okay.
Well, if you were turning it into a commercial that lot into a commercial development, not a residential home.
Not a residential home. If it's, just if it's subject to site plan.
Okay. The other thing is that, and I found this one challenging, so I'm sure there's some reasoning here that just escaped me, is that I'm reading here under the tree protected canopy forest one, in the middle of the first one, it says the boundaries of the property shall not be considered. So if I'm sitting there with a canopy on my property and I have a small percentage of that canopy because the bulk of it is on my neighbor's property, I'm still subject to all of this.
You're still.
Is that one tree or more?
That you're still subject to showing where the outline of that wooded canopy is.
Okay.
But you wouldn't have to inventory the trees. You would, all it's saying is that you have to show the canopy, whether it goes off your property or not, and then you're exempt from having to inventory the trees because you're claiming that as the canopy. So
Okay,
th-
so-
those are what benefit, those are what make it where you don't have to do all the tree inventory, is when you're able to denote what's a canopy and what's not. And that's just saying, if it crosses into the neighbor's yard, we want you to show how big the canopy actually gets. You're getting credit for it, and you're not having to inventory it, but it does go past the boundary line, just,
So again, the canopy on my neighbor's property is impacting me.
Yes,
Okay, why? Why is that there?
because the canopy is an ecosystem, and the larger the canopy, and just like any other natural feature, it doesn't respect property boundaries. And so if you're looking at it to protect the forested and wooded canopies, it would be integral to know whether it's part of that or not. So that's the reason that it's looking for that. If you're uncomfortable with that language, though, the definitions could be altered between first and second reading.
Yeah, so I'm struggling with that one, you know.
I can see, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with it on the boundary, and I think I understand the general concept. I mean, we would all love to see a beautiful canopy park that goes over the whole town. I get all that, but I still value property rights, and if what I want to do on mine, and I want to go through and do this, then yes, hold me accountable, right? But it just seems like we're creating, we're bleeding out the borders, and I struggle with that. The only other thing, and I apologize, I said there was only 3, but there's actually 4. What is under F, section 6.05 F, and I think this was in here before, so this isn't, I don't think it's anything new. Under number 2, the canopy must be delineated by symbolic lines tracing the spread of the outermost branches. What do you mean by delineated by symbolic lines?
Just a line on the site plan that shows the outermost edges of the branches.
So it says on the site, but you don't mean physically on the site, you mean on the site plan.
On the site plan, yes.
So we should have had plan on there, right?
That can be added, yes.
Okay. And you just mean literally like a red line or some way to denote it?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, geez. I need to learn to count. But I went to Harvard, so in Harvard you can't count. If I went to MIT, then I'd be able to count. Tree preservations, the technique proposed to protect trees, this is under 6.06B 2B. The tree preservation techniques proposed to protect trees. Where is it proposed? Whether the technique's proposed?
If the applicant is proposing to protect trees, this is saying that you need to show us on the site plan what techniques you're using, whether it be fence, which is typical.
could be
or-
2x4s.
Yeah,
So, if I may, certain cities that we work in require you to put a 2x4 around the tree so that if a machine bumped into it, it wouldn't scratch the bark or something. Some want snow fencing, 4 feet around the tree. We're basically saying, if you're committing to preserve a tree, what would be your technique that
Okay.
we would feel
but
you would
we're
preserve
not
it?
prescribing what it is. We're just asking them to tell us
Just
what
delineate
you're
to us.
proposing to
Okay.
do.
Okay. That's my questions. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions from the board?
I'm trying to understand what you're trying to understand with the whole canopy thing, because I don't, I kind of know where you're getting with it going over somebody else's property line. How could that be a detriment? Say, so you've drawn out this canopy line, it clearly goes over somebody else's property, and I just don't understand, I guess, what would the detriment, or what is the purpose in that? Or is it because I'm getting credit for the?
No, you're, if I may.
Sure.
I'll try to explain
Oh.
that. None of this is the tree ordinance that has penalties like we were talking about. That was the second one that
Sure.
we're not bringing
Yep,
forward.
right.
This is basically to identify how we want to look at it, and the planning commission to be able to understand what's on the property prior to the plan being developed. So it doesn't matter if it goes over the lines, doesn't go over the lines, it doesn't affect the neighbor. It's really just an informational outline of what the planning commission, because a lot of times we don't see, all we see is a rectangle, everything in the rectangle, and you don't understand what's outside the rectangle. It's not depicted, or the developers don't show us what's next door, what's
Okay.
right across the line. So all that language is basically saying is if you've got a canopy that's crossing the line, show that it continues past the line. It doesn't have to, you don't have to show all the parcels in the township that tree canopy touches. It just says you have to show that it doesn't end right at the property line, it goes past it.
Just to show it, you're just doing it
Just
for
to
the
show it.
purpose of
Yeah, there's
showing
no
it, to put
regulation
it on
tied
a
to
plan,
it, or-
just to see where it is.
There's no tree inventory tied to
Okay.
it, there's nothing
There's
tied to it.
nothing tied to it, it's
It's
just-
just informational
I just
depiction.
need to see it on the plan so we get an idea of what the canopy looks like.
Correct.
Okay. That makes
Treasurer
sense.
Brown.
Now I
Oh,
understand.
sorry.
No,
I thought you
no,
were
I'm
done.
good, I understand. Oh, go ahead.
If I could add one
Yeah.
thing, so we do in site plan require the applicant to give us information that's off-site
Mhm.
that affects the decision, such as we require the driveways within, I think, 300 feet, so that you can see whether they line up or cause a traffic conflict. We require the buildings outlines or any easements on next door properties so that so things can be assessed if there's any safety issues there. The idea of having the larger canopy delineated is then to know, and the planning commission will be able to see beyond that one box, where that woodland is and how, if any removal is proposed, it would affect that woodland and also adjacent properties or green infrastructure. And they would then take that into the decision when they were looking at one of the many standards that they look at for site plan review.
So it's just an extra, additional part of the site plan, so, and helping make decisions based on all the other things that they have to use to make decisions. So you're just adding a component basically to the site plan for the planning commission to be able to determine how they want to move forward and what things are going to look like. Okay, I understand.
Treasurer Brown.
So Sam, thank you for that explanation. And I'm going to try to walk through this scenario to make sure I'm clear. Someone would bring a site plan and there would be a canopy on part of it in the past that would not show that it's 25% of an actual larger canopy, including the property next to it. So, so as you're looking at that, maybe they've got some canopy on another side of the property and they've got this one, but they're proposing, we can't keep these trees over here, but there's actually a lot more trees beyond that, so taking out this 25% still leaves a significant part of the canopy in that structure, which could lead, so then the planning commission may make that decision, right? So that helps me understand that. Then it leads me to my next question is, am I now penalizing the guy in the next lot over who hasn't developed yet, but now he's only got 75% less? With the planning commission feeling that, well, we need to protect yours because the other guy already cut his down. So, and that's really, I don't know that we can answer that because that's a question for the planning commission in real time. But I do understand better what you're indicating, that you're trying to work through
It would
that.
need to be, that's a case that could come into play and could never come into play. We're gonna be looking at the other site as its own entity itself too. You know, now maybe, I mean, I guess that could happen. I'll give you a prime example of why you wanna reach out past the property line. The Chase Bank on Sashabaw here, when that was first approved, all we had was the property line on it. And then when it went through conceptual and preliminary site plan, it got approved. Once we realized that it didn't align with the Ace Hardware and we didn't have the cross, access to it and everything, the building was moved back to fix all of those issues. And I always lean back on that one, is like, that was one of the prime examples of not knowing what was next to you, making a decision based on a rectangular shape of property. We would have not had that cross access. The bank would have been right up by the road, which was the design standard of Sashabaw corridor. The whole thing would have been a way worse and less friendly site had we not seen what was next to that property. And I think that's another example of why you want to just kind of know what else is being affected by that, or could be. It doesn't necessarily mean it affects it, but it does give, again, the planning commission more tools to work with to make a better decision, by going past a little bit and seeing what's in proximity of the project.
Trustee Matthews, you have a question?
I
Go
was
ahead.
almost gonna ask the same exact thing that Treasurer Brown did, the people on both sides, like, what if that gets approved and then the guy next to you chops those down? I mean, you could technically play games with that, like, hey, I'll leave those there so you get your site plan approved, but I'm gonna get rid of this corner. I mean, I just don't see. And then as far as the Chase Bank, all someone had to do was go look at the lot. I mean, you can Google what's next to things now. You can drive down the street and say, oh, that's where Ace is. So I don't understand that part of it. I just going into different lots, that's all.
Okay. Other questions, comments from the board? No? So I'm just going to reiterate, I would personally like to see an acreage assignment to this, and I just have a hard time with the borders. I think, if you want to illustrate it on a site plan, I think that's fine, but I don't think it should be taken into consideration for anything beyond that. And my concern is that once you open that door, it's kind of hard not to have that look down the hallway, so to speak. So that's just my comments here. Anyone in the audience, any comments? Was that a yes, or?
I like your comments.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll close it on the floor. Any comments online? Okay, so I'm gonna close comments. So I get at this point, we will look to see if there's a motion to move it forward.
Right. Ask.
Did you ask me to do it?
It's more- Can I still talk again?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to make sure I understand, Sam, that what happens if the canopy, if this contiguous 3 acres canopy is not, it's in here, but what happens, what's the impact of having that in there that could be negative on the adjoining property?
I don't
Or the
know of it.
existing property?
I'm not really sure what, I'm still trying to grasp if everyone understands what we're, the concern. I'm still trying to figure out what your concern, because I don't see how reaching over the property line with data in the 20 years I've been on the commission, how that would have a bearing on either the adjacent properties or that property. It's just, so if we remove it going across the line, it's irrelevant to me. Like, that's not a deal breaker. We're just, if all we want to focus on is what's on that lot, we're just trying to make it where we get the information one meeting ahead of what's required right now, is what this is all about. It's just moving it from up to conceptual to have this information. The definitions and canopies are actually added to give them the reason not to do an inventory if that exists, where that wasn't in the ordinance.
So this is a benefit to them by having a big canopy. They could avoid doing
They don't have to do any inventory.
tree owners, so I get that. Could the same thing be accomplished, having showing where it's at on their property, but also including an aerial photograph, which you can go right online and get them, that would show the planning commission the canopy, and ask them to include that in the packet, versus just drawings, right?
Yeah, they're
Because-
just drawing a pencil line going,
Right, I
hey,
know,
it
but
goes over
why
there.
don't we have them include an actual photograph aerial of that site plan, including adjoining properties within so many feet? That doesn't put any restrictions on it, but just says, that allows the planning commission to actually really see what was right there.
Yeah, anything more we can get information, I'm in support of. I don't think that any of this penalizes anyone or puts anyone in harm's way or opens up any sort of, like the next guy's gonna pay a penalty for it. I just don't. But if you wanna shrink it down or, that's even better. If you wanna say, hey, provide an aerial photograph that encompasses, all the parcels adjoining.
Right,
That
so
would
you're
be-
showing
that
your
would be,
canopy.
that would be,
But you'll have your canopy on your
benefit.
drawings, but the aerial photograph's gonna show that it's part of a larger canopy automatically. And then as far as the acreage size, what are your thoughts on putting some kind of a minimum acreage, you know?
Well, again, this doesn't have any penalties or any restrictions in what we're asking for tonight. It's just for identification purposes, so I think, I don't know why if you
Because it
had.
opens the door, and so we know there's gonna be another shoe that's gonna drop. And so I would like to be.
Like what? Just give me
Well,
an example.
if you bring forth the second part of this, which is all the teeth to this,
Right.
I would like to know that anything, just like in the next item we're gonna be talking about, there is an acreage,
I think that's where you'd want to put the acreage, on the one with the teeth, not the one that necessarily,
I think-
because all this is saying, we want to know what's on the property.
Yeah.
That's it. But if we don't, I would be hesitant to say we don't want to know what's on a 3-acre parcel, because one of the things, especially when you're linking it to the greenways plan or animal movements, you kind of want to know if there's a tree row that's been identified, you know, in the greenways plan, or what's on the, we don't want to just say, well, anything under 5 acres, don't tell us anything about what's on the property, don't tell us anything about the trees, because it is integral. And I can tell you right now, because it's going to come up in the next site, there's 37 parcels that are less than 1 acre that are commercial, that are undeveloped in the township right now. There's 37 of them, just parcels under 1 acre. So if any of those are integral to the greenways plan or any of that, we would want to at least know that much. Again, this is a fact-finding thing that we're presenting. So I don't know how you differentiate between what's relevant trees and what's not, because the whole point of the greenways plan was that we would make concessions with them if they would preserve and keep the link open to the designated, you know, the animal movements and greenways. So if we don't know that, we can't even tell them that we're willing to, you know, make the setback smaller in the front or off to the side, or give them more density, or make it smaller if we don't know what's there. So that's up to you guys, how you want to look at how valuable that information is, you know, on smaller parcels. I don't know what size that I would suggest. So I'll leave that up to, you know, you guys to ponder.
It would seem that a parcel of 1 acre in a commercial area that had any significant restrictions on what trees they can and can't have is gonna really limit the ability of the people to actually do anything with it of commercial value. Or
Yeah, that's why you're
do I
not-
not understand it?
You're not gonna be, no, you're right, we're not,
So the planning commission is gonna look at it and say, yeah, this is one of these, we're gonna pass on this because there's not enough room.
but the tree
Right.
ordinances that we're trying to pass are not to prevent you from developing. That's not there. You can't, we're not gonna say you can't develop a 1 acre parcel because there's a legacy tree on there. There's nothing in the ordinance that says you can't develop because there's a tree there. Now, you may have to plant an extra street tree, or you might have to do something different, but there's no way that the tree ordinance has any bearing on hindering development itself. That's not in the, Megan, am I correct that that's not in the verbiage of it?
So we-
That the tree ordinance would prevent
Is it tree
development?
ordinance and all that?
No, so,
It's how you develop, not develop, how you would develop the site.
So just for clarification, it's not a tree ordinance, it's a tree preservation, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
woodland, I
So-
think.
well, and the amendments that are before you tonight are procedural for site plan. And so there's nothing, except for the proposed amendment to section 607C. There's nothing that directly affects the decision that the planning commission would be making, or giving them more tools to be more stringent. And I would say that, and then what the amendment is for it to read site planning and design of specific improvements will accomplish, to the extent reasonable, the preservation, protection of existing natural resources and features such as lake, ponds, streams, woodlands, steep slopes, groundwater. And instead of it saying trees and wooded areas, it says protected trees, wooded canopies, and forested canopies, which is much more precise because of those definitions, rather than a very general wooded areas. So if anything, you're making it more precise in terms of what the planning commission is making a decision on.
So basically, all these things are are just stating, this is what you need to have when you present us a plan.
Yeah.
That's all that they say. They don't say that you have to have a tree, this is just like, if you're gonna present a plan, this is the information I need.
This is
That's
the
all that this is
information-
for.
This is the information we need.
Yep.
And we're going to look at those specific things when we're making a decision.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
This is more of a, probably a housekeeping, but are there any other standards or ordinances that some of this may have been mentioned where there would be duplicative that needs clarification as we go through this first and second reading, that some other place would need to be a wetlands ordinance? The land, I mean, where some of this, I know you've beefed up some of the words, but now's the time that we need to clean up any of the others if it's repetitive in other ordinances.
I
So
can
I would
double-
ask that, I'm sorry,
Or conflicting?
yeah, anything, yeah. I think we need to do a good purview through there to make sure that down the road, then we don't have, especially conflicting. So I don't know, wetlands, floodplains, natural features, is there, maybe we just needed a clause that would, in this one, that would help verify that, but I didn't know if you've done that, if you've done a look through the other ordinances to see.
No, I've not done a look through other ordinances.
Okay, I would suggest that we do that.
So,
Where was that word that needed to be added? There was a word correction too?
yeah, so, I'm gonna
Where's that
make a
at?
motion that we move to approve the induction of the first reading of the ordinance to amend the Charter Township of Independence Ordinance Code, Chapter 50 zoning ordinance revision of Section 2.02, with the note that on Section 2.02(1), that the boundaries of the property be removed, and instead add an aerial photograph of the bordering properties, or however you want to pretty that up,
Adjacent?
adjacent,
Can I make a suggestion?
sure.
What I would suggest is just to strike that the boundaries of the property shall be considered, shall not be considered. Take that sentence out.
Okay.
And then in section 605B3F, add an aerial photograph showing canopies on adjacent properties as part of what is required.
Okay. What she said,
Can we make it, this sounds crazy, of course, but it should be a current photograph, not, something from 5-10 years ago, or,
Yes, actually, maybe within a year?
yeah, something that they can verify that it's a recent photo,
okay, I agree. In 6.07, for definition and procedural changes to the site plan, review to assist the planning commission to know the location and condition of the trees and tree canopies on development properties, and consider that information in site plan decisions, and schedule the second reading on the next available Board of Trustees regular meeting following the required publication by the clerk.
Support.
Can I get a roll call, please? Madam Clerk?
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Treasurer Brown?
Yes?
Trustee Hayward?
yes.
Trustee Morocco?
Yes.
Trustee Alamothu?
Yes.
Trustee Tedder?
Yes.
And Supervisor File.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Look at that. We can make progress.
We're getting there.
All
We're
right.
getting there.
The next item is request to approve the first reading of the ordinance amendment for Article 5 of the Section 12 and 14. This is brought forth by Trustee Morocco. Would you like to walk us through it, please?
I'll start, and I think, Dan, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what we've uncovered is that there's, our ordinance basically says that you have to meet the county standard for stormwater management, period. But the county doesn't regulate under 1 acre parcels, because the stormwater management required by the county would be very hard to obtain with less than 1 acre. So basically what this is doing is this is aligning us with the county. So anything over 1 acre would still be mandated to meet the county standard as it is currently. This allows for parcels under 1 acre to have their engineer design a stormwater management that meets all the standards of the township. It would be reviewed by our consultants to prove that it works. They would have to sign at the request of the board, they'd have to sign something to hold us harmless if it ever failed. They would have to be on a maintenance schedule with their stormwater management. So it gives, and I did some research with Greg Babbs, and we come up with 121 commercial properties currently that are less than 1 acre, and some that are ready for redevelopment, and 37 that have still not been developed. So this affects, over 150 parcels in the township. That this little caveat in the ordinance makes it very hard for redevelopment and for new development. So I think that the township did a good job working with Dave McKee, and Dan Kelly talked to Dave Moran. Me and Supervisor File had conversations about it. About every angle and T's crossed and I's dotted, and every angle were covered, in case anything was to happen. But what it does do is it does allow residents to be able to redevelop and develop new parcels, which were very difficult, and we've lost some development in the future over it. And this is a housekeeping thing that I've been told by Mr. Carlisle and other people that's just long overdue, and it just we should have aligned with the county, and we never did. It just was the way it was written back in the day, and so I was asked to bring this forward to see if we could get that aligned, and then give developers and investors an opportunity to redevelop and develop small parcels in the township a little bit easier, with no risk to the township. Dan, do you want to collaborate on that?
The only thing I would add is that it also actually sets forth, for these lots or parcels under 1 acre, it sets forth a waiver process that the Board of Trustees approves the waiver based upon certain criteria. So that's in there as well.
Okay. And again, the county already has this, right, as
Yes.
part of theirs?
Yeah, so the county's engineering standards are based upon everything 1 acre or more. And so really, we should have always been, as Sam's indicated, we should have always been in line with that, because we were applying their engineering standards to 1 acre or less, which the county doesn't do. So this brings us in line with the county. Now, in certain circumstances, if for some reason our engineers or this township board believe that there are some risks or there's some damages or adverse impacts, we can deny the waiver request even for under 1 acre.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I just
Yep.
have one.
Trustee Matthew?
I don't know if anyone knows this, but how long ago was their stuff looked at? Like, how old is the county's ordinance?
My understanding from the history is the counties, they update it periodically. We were
Okay.
relying upon the 2006. In reality, what we're enforcing is the 2021 standards. So we have, which is part of this update as well. This dates back at least to 2006.
Anybody else? No? Anybody in the audience? No? Anybody online? Don't want to drag it out so Treasurer Brown can get back here. But I guess he's not going to make it. Okay, so can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion. I'll move to approve the first reading of the amendment to the Independence Township Ordinance Code, Article 5, Stormwater Retention and Detention, Sections 112 through 119.
Thank you.
Generally, and 14 through 23, General Standards, and schedule the second reading on the next available Board of Trustees regular meeting following the required publication by the clerk.
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk, please.
Treasurer Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Hayward.
Yes.
Trustee Morocco.
Yes.
Trustee Alamothu.
Yes.
Trustee Tedder.
Yes.
Supervisor File.
Yes.
Clerk Newbeck. Yes. Sorry.
Motion carried. All right, that's great. That closes out regular business. Closed session, budget session, study session, there's none here. Communication, future agenda items and reports. We have a report for the Building Department on September 2025. Minutes for the Election Commission, April 15, 2025. Minutes for the Zoning Board of Appeals, August 6, 2025. Minutes Planning Commission, August 14, 2025. Minutes Downtown Development Authority, August 20th, 25. At this point, does any other board member have any comments?
Move to adjourn?
Nope, move to adjourn. You-
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting closed. Thank you.